Hi, I'm Tiffany, and we're here on this beautiful, warm, sunny day at 67 Broadway in Salem, New Jersey. I'm here with Gregg Perry. He's an architectural preservationist with the Salem County Historical Preservation Society. It's a pleasure to be here with you, Gregg.
Good to see you again, Tiffany.
Yes. For those who don't know, Gregg and I have worked together in the past on the clock project.
Correct. Which is right up the street at Stone's Throw Way.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And that project continues to move forward. Wonderful.
Good. Okay, so we're here in this beautiful historic building that has obviously been neglected over the years. And the neighborhood is a historical neighborhood, but a lot of the houses have deteriorated. So why is it that you want to save Salem City?
Well, to go back to 1675, it is one of the basic first, probably one of 5 cities or towns in the country that started America. It has huge historical significance that we just can't let go. But in the last 25, 30 years, we probably lost 60-75% of our historical fabric here.
Wow.
So if we want to embrace history for our children, for our grandchildren, we're going to have to do something now. It is extremely important. It's urgent. We've had too many people in the political field, societies, groups that made half-hearted attempts or no attempts at all. And we have to buckle down and get to some serious preservation here at 67 Broadway before there's nothing left. I mean, some of these houses, like the one we're here, this beautiful 1801 Georgia.
Gorgeous.
It
has so much potential. The floors are beautiful. And
oh my God, absolutely. But it's probably 2 years away from glassing.
Wow.
Unfortunately. And there's a lot of issues that have brought this to light over the years, but we'll probably get to that a little bit later.
Okay. Do you have any idea what a budget for a project like this would be on average? What is the square footage of this house, just to give our viewers a gauge?
About 2,200 square feet. Very difficult to come up with a project right now with a number for the project. We're still putting together our group. Our group's been together for about 9 months. We're looking for a lot of volunteers. A lot of volunteers signed up. Life After Television put out several videos now. It stemmed a lot of interest. We have a lot of people volunteering, people who want to send us donations. And it's not just donations monetary. I mean, we need machinery and lifts to get up to the top of the roof and things of that nature.
So you could use some professional assistance, whether it's a construction company that maybe wants to be part of rebuilding the community, or someone of that nature, tree repair, that sort of thing. Any kind of a professional maybe would be helpful.
We will, and we'll vet them extremely heavily, because everything here has to be done to historic standards.
Right.
So, basic demolition and things and cleanup on the outside, we could use any professional organizations or companies that want to, but we're going to try to tap into the VOTEC, to the students.
Oh, wonderful.
Students in Salem City High School, and students of the local VOTEC. So with one of our most passionate members, Jack Swain, he's going to be leading us down that path, bringing volunteers in. And if they can do this for Habitat for Humanity, why can't we do it for real history here in Salem City?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if someone wanted to get involved and volunteer, what would be the best way to contact you?
Look up Life After Television right now. This is the best way. And look at our videos, and you'll see some phone numbers and websites at the end. And
do you have work events where you have groups of people that come together and come out and work on the project with you? Is it that sort of a structure?
It will be, but we're in our infancy at this point.
Okay.
Just 2 weeks ago, we just took a two-story dwelling down the back of the property, took the back of this property off, which was done in the 1850s and 1920s. Still waiting for the city to come along with dumpsters. They're going to pick up the residue and take it to the landfill. So we've not gotten that far yet. We're going to have a kickoff the 20th of March.
Sounds like a party.
10 a.m. We're going to be having a party here. Probably a short ribbon cutting with some dignitaries and members of our group, and we'll get this under motion. So we're still feeling our way out through this. We've been given two dwellings, number 67 and 75 here on Broadway. And I think the ultimate idea is going to be to fix this up, restore it, and this is going to be our headquarters. So we're going to offer training seminars, symposiums here, possibly an African American museum on maybe one floor, just one room to get started. Because Salem was steeped in African American history, starting with the slave trade back in the early 18th century.
Now, as far as other projects throughout the city, I know that there are other towns locally who have started to reclaim properties that have been abandoned and tear them down and sell them off, and really try to get some of those properties back into shape and back onto the market. Is the city of Salem actively pursuing those options as well? Are they working along with you for projects like that?
Well, the Mayor Washington has been helping us out. He was instrumental in getting the houses for us at this point. There is severe financial degradation here in the city.
Right.
The city has very little money to help out. And the state, kind of somewhat the state of all South Jersey. You could Vineland, Millville, Pennsville, Carneys Point, Penns Grove. I mean, these places are in dire need of a shot in the arm.
Right. I was referring to Paulsboro specifically.
Okay.
I know that Paulsboro has been working on, and I think of Paulsboro as a similar town as far as the demographics and the economic conditions in the town. But they've been able to get some of those properties torn down and take back some of those properties.
Yeah, we haven't seen that here in Salem, unfortunately. What we do have is history that no other town in southern New Jersey has.
Right.
Possibly Greenwich, New Jersey has history like Salem. But I'm going to go back here a bit. What some of the issues we've had here in Salem, probably going back 20, 25 years. You have these sharks, so-called sharks, real estate agents coming in who want to buy up and convert these wonderful old houses into multi-use dwellings.
Right.
Unfortunately, they're slumlords. They're HUD housing, Section 8 members.
Right.
And we're trying to stop that from what little fabric is left here in Salem. But unfortunately, Salem is just wretched with these people right now. And I don't know how many houses are HUD houses. So that destroys your tax rateable.
Absolutely.
There was a severe drop down in the tax rateable about a year and a half, 2 years ago. So if you're a homeowner with a decent property here, you want to sell it, you're in deep trouble.
Absolutely. I know that my experience is that Salem City has the highest taxes in all of Salem County. I have 15, 20 years experience in real estate, and that was my experience. It was always a challenge to get a home buyer approved even. They would qualify for the financial aspect of the price of the home, but when they accounted for the taxes, they no longer qualified for that mortgage.
Exactly.
So that's a challenge.
Yeah, it's a challenge. So I think with our group, we're trying to be historically accurate. We could go ahead and convert houses for normal families. We're not trying to do that.
Right.
I've been involved with 20 historic restorations of cities or towns across the Midwest in the last 20 years. And there are formulas for doing these type of things. Why no one has come here and put formulas like that forth, I have no idea. Possibly the HUD housing members have kept up with everybody in pay. I don't know.
Right.
So what we're trying to do here is to be aesthetically and historically correct. What happened here in the 1920s, John D. Rockefeller came through and he put a year study up, and he put about $1 million, so it was a lot of money in 1920.
A lot of money in 1920.
And what he was interested in was buying the entire city because he was a very established historian, and he wanted to see if he could buy this and turn this into a walking museum.
Wow.
When he posited to the state of New Jersey, they said, no way. The possibility of someone getting hit and injured on the two major roadways, Route 45 and Route 49, was too large. Whether that was true or not, who knows? It was probably all politics, as most things are.
Right.
But nevertheless, he picked up and he moved on down to Williamsburg, where there's literally no fabric. Colonial Williamsburg, you had a few foundations and things like that. So basically, it's a historical Disneyland. And not to knock Colonial Williamsburg, but it's a good teaching aid. But it's not the real deal. It's not the real fabric that we had here back in the 20s.
Wow.
Now we've lost about 70 to 80% of what was here from the 20s. At one time on Fenwick's Creek or Salem Creek, there are still wharves there. We could have had a recreation of wharves and small shops that people could maul on Friday and Saturday nights down in Salem River. Nothing exists anymore. No one cares enough to even find where John Fenwick's house is. The big buzz here is about John Fenwick. This is John Fenwick's colony.
Right.
So where does he live? No one's cared to mark the dwelling or the foundation. The dwelling doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, that was that was going to be my next question.
Yeah, so you've had a lot of groups come in over the last 30, 40, 50 years. I mean, they're small groups, and they have interest in mind. A lot of that's personal interest, to be the one to, quote, save the city.
Right.
And they don't come in with the right angle, the right resources.
So let me ask you, what makes you think that you have the ability to take on such a huge project and be successful compared to these other groups that have tried in the past? What sets you apart from these other groups?
Well, number one, we have people in groups today, and people want to be in groups, again, to be leaders and be seen. I was around Richard Florida. Richard Florida is probably the guru of reproducing and recreating economic development. People want green spaces. They want places to go and eat, decent places, bistros and things like that. They want places to walk their dogs. They want places to feel at home. There's nothing like this in Salem City.
Right.
Nothing at all.
Right.
So you need to provide those things, provide the housing. And all this is based on artists. And as we're talking to Mr. Hohen, our videographer here, John's a great proponent of artists.
Absolutely.
And all these restorations across the Midwest, these great turnarounds have been the result of artisans being brought in and literally putting their shops downstairs and living upstairs.
Right.
So not-for-profit groups getting together, rehabbing historic properties, and bringing these artists in. We have to be proactive. We have to be looking. We should be on the internet right now looking for artists around the country, whether it's from Albuquerque, Northern California, San Francisco, Chicago. We need to bring people in and say, hey, there are opportunities here. You can be in a great metro area, Wilmington, Philadelphia, and you're not in the middle of nowhere here, which is true.
Absolutely.
But so we want to encompass the history, the historic aspect of Salem, wrapped around a newfound art-type community. And even the group Stand Up for Salem has recently got on board. They're trying to rehab the J.C. Penney building.
Can you tell me a little bit about that group?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with them at all.
Well, that group has been around for 20 years, and they try to do some things where the city is falling short financially, and they do some training around the city of people that aren't employed about to sweep the streets. They put a parade on and things of that nature.
Okay.
And I'm so sorry if I'm missing any of the particulars about that.
Right.
But one of their projects is they tackled the J.C. Penney building to make it a building for artists, to make it a permanent studio for artists in the city. But yet again, it's some roadblocks. They're basically grant oriented. So they have a grant to take the project so far, but then that falls short.
Right.
So then you have to wait for the next grant. So we don't want to have to be dependent on grants.
So you're not dependent on grants, you're not grant-based.
We want to be donation-driven, GoFundMe and some other donation situations, so that's what we're striving for.
Now, will you also pursue grants as a secondary means?
We have someone on board on the group who is experienced with writing grants, and yes, she is pursuing grants right now. But as you know, grants can take, sometimes 4, 5, 6 months to a year.
Of course.
And sometimes the grants can be canceled. So
right.
Not a reliable source.
No.
We want the human volunteer, people that are interested in doing this.
Well, and it's important for the community to get involved and take back their city and take back their community and become, one again, I guess you could say.
Yeah, but there's unfortunately a feeling here that things have gone too far the other direction. There's no hope. And I hear it from all aspects, all walks of life, from people who live here. If you go down Market Street had a revitalization in the early 70s. There was about 12 houses that was going to be torn down coming in on Route 45 from Woodstown. And a philanthropist was coming through haphazardly one day. And he's looking to and fro, and he says, oh, these buildings are 18th century to himself. The windows are out, the doors are out. Bulldozers are there. They're 2 weeks from demolition.
Wow.
So the story is he stopped and waited to find the mayor, find the city council member who worked different jobs in the day, and put them all together at night, and was able to write a large sum of money and check directly to them, as long as most of it went to the local VOTEC to bring the kids in to help rehab these buildings. So the demolition was stayed, and these buildings were put back together, somewhat historically correct, not totally, but nevertheless they were saved, matching herringbone sidewalks both sides of the street, gas lamps. The state of New Jersey came in with some matching funds. So it was a good thing going. And the new homeowners coming in, which were probably not historically motivated, but they came to a newly refurbished home and with great hopes that this is going to do a refurbishment of the city. This is 1970, 1972.
Right.
And they got in, and I think they became complacent to an extent. And they should have driven this down the street, right down Market Street into Broadway, but they didn't. They just sat back and enjoyed their new homes with a little colonial atmosphere. And this is a part of the problem. This is not the whole problem. It's part of the piece that you were given something. Well, then let's all get together with energy and carry it down the street. Those homeowners are long gone. You may be on the second or third homeowner in those particular homes.
Right.
And so as people get older, they sell their homes. Now we're in fear of who's getting those homes now. Are they going to be Section 8 homeowners coming and buying those historically restored homes? So a lot of concerns, but here in Broadway, we're starting here. It's Western Broadway is a good area. We have a series of Georgian houses here, about 10 that are available. There's some attorney's offices down the street. There's a local distillery that just came in, so it's giving us a little ambiance, a little backdrop to work with. And the Salem Oak Diner, the Salem Oak Tree. Unfortunately, Anchor Hocking has left, and there was another German concern, glass manufacturer that's left, Hardot, which has left. They left maybe a year and a half, maybe 3 years ago.
Right.
So they just get up and leave. They leave these god awful ugly buildings here. Nobody knows what to do or how to approach them. They're going to tear them down. They're going to fall down. So.
And they were businesses that used to pay taxes and no longer have to pay taxes.
Exactly. So the city's taking the brunt of this right now.
Right. And it's such a huge undertaking. And like you said, there are so many pieces of the puzzle. So this is just the beginning piece of your puzzle.
Exactly.
You really have a lot of work ahead of you.
Exactly. And the difficult thing here, it's difficult to find people that are entrenched in historic preservation. At times, I think over the years, we've had a lot of rookies take on this, and it's fallen by the wayside. So I think we have a pretty solid group of 7 here, each in its own individual, in his or her individual genre, is pretty steeped in the area. So I think this is a great possibility to start moving forward.
How many of the VOTEC students do you think that you'll utilize in the project?
I really don't know that. John Swain, he's the superintendent of Salem County Schools. He'll be handling that.
Okay.
I'm sure we're going to use the plumbing group, the electrical group, and the basic construction group to come and help us. With all keeping in code, of course.
Right.
But a great experience for the kids. A chance to, actually, some of these kids go through the construction trades. They never go into that field. So this will give them a nice taste. And with a whole series of houses here, we're never short of something to work on.
Right.
My expertise is going to come in 3-phase plastering. I was trained. I'm a grade 2 certified star of historic structures in the UK, working on manor houses and castles. And I spent a year over there with the certification. So my expertise will be in 3-phase plastering, which this house has.
Okay.
Millwork, which is millwork by hand and or machine. Repointing a brick, tuck pointing a brick, anything dealing with wood and the history of the architecture of the house.
Right.
So we're going to harness that through the VOTEC, through John Swain, and we're ready to get started about 2 weeks after the kickoff, which is on March 20th.
So you're very excited about this project.
Very excited, but you must go in with full force, and you hit a lot of bumps along the way. Nothing to stop us, and we're just going to go around it. Yeah. So getting machinery and getting the volunteers together, harnessing the resources. I mean, we're getting started at a rather bad time of the year. It's a bit chilly, as we can see in here. It's
a beautiful summer sunny day.
28, 30 degrees here, so it's a bit biting. We've done a series of these videos, and Mr. Ho and I have been in here when it's been probably about 10 degrees.
Wow, so that's dedication, guys.
That was cold. That was very cold.
I'm not a cold weather person, so I admire that. That's dedication.
But along the way, we're going to do a presentation this coming week with the Historical Society. Generally, whatever county you go, whatever state you go, historical societies stay quite aloof because they want to say their mission is the objects inside their walls, not the architecture around them.
Really?
But what they really need to know, if they don't know, architecture is the most fragile of all the arts. And at one point, if somebody doesn't try and pull a congruent group together here in this city or in some other small towns, whether it be Millville, Bridgeton, or Pennsville.
Right.
There'll be no architecture next door when they look out the window. It'll just be their nice little brick building, a historic building with all the artifacts inside. So the essence here, everybody has to pull together on a historic basis.
Okay.
And so we hope we can get some of their expertise on genealogy of the houses we're working on and things like that.
Do you have any history on this home that we're in today?
I don't. One of the members in our group, we're still waiting for that. That's been asked of somebody in the group about 4 or 5 weeks ago, so he hasn't come through yet. So we'll still waiting for that information.
I'll look forward to hearing that.
We have just a general first brochure of the Preservation Society out right now. I understand it's being redefined, and we're still waiting for the lady to put forth that. So these things are happening, but they're happening rather quickly because we want to get a kickoff on the 20th of May.
Certainly. How did you specifically choose this project for your flagship project?
Well, we wanted to pick first a location in town. So essentially, this is shaped like many of the European or English towns. It's a T, Market Street, entering into Broadway. We feel that those houses we just talked about on Market Street are in pretty good order, those first 12. We have some gaps in between with historic houses that need to be refurbished. Then you come to Broadway, which we're sitting here.
Right.
East Broadway has some other issues going on. You have a liquor store, some other commercial entities down there, the Sherwin-Williams paint store. Down here, there's a good stretch of 2 or 3 blocks with just historic dwellings.
Right, and they're large, beautiful.
Yes,
You
yes.
could tell they were
Yes.
just spectacular homes in their heyday.
In speaking with the Honorable Mayor, we're looking for something to be our headquarters, so to speak, something of the Georgian quality. So this is high style. This house was once one dwelling, having 8 fireplaces, a classic Georgian. You would have found
Fireplaces.
manor house in central England, in the Midlands, something like that. Somewhere around probably the Victorian area, some closed up part of the wall right next to us, put 2 doors in the front instead of 1, choked off some of the fireplaces, and the degradation began. So we're talking about, it's been a good 100 years since this occurred. So
Wow.
This is nothing of recent note. So.
No, so there are a lot of years of deterioration
Yes.
that you're going to have to work against and try to restore in this property.
Cover up of overlap.
Right.
Bad woodworking, bad flooring, bad
Right.
plastering, you name it. So we want to cut back to the original fabric and then push forward with that. But this was a classic example, and we wanted to do this because it's going to be a great dichotomy to the house next door is going to be a rental. I don't know, and I don't want to pre-speak if it's going to be Section 8 or not. There's a realty group which we've not had a lot of contact with from Brooklyn, New York, who's purchased it, and I'm understanding it's going to be a Section 8 housing next to it. So
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, but you're going to see a great dichotomy of our Preservation Society headquarters and the dwelling
Right.
next door.
Well, I think this is a fantastic location because of the visibility and the proximity to the county road right out front. So,
Absolutely, and that's part of it. Because you get most of the people entering Salem from the Pennsville or the bridge, coming straight through. A lot of people going to the shore, so it's a great
right,
location.
and hopefully you'll be able to create some buzz. What's going on at that house?
Absolutely.
What are they doing there? And I'm guessing that you'll have some signage of some
We
sort
will.
out front.
I'm making signage right now, and I must add, there's we're flying around some negativity to what's happened in the past, but we have 4 or 5 great people in the Salem City area, some couple on the outside, great historians with historical capabilities, genealogists, and people with various degrees, master's
Right.
degrees. So we'll be reaching out to them as soon as we get this off the ground to come into the fold and to give us a hand. And
I can't help but be skeptical after all of the attempts over the years to bring this city back to its natural beauty. A lot of people have attempted it, but it sounds like you have the credentials and the team behind you that you need to make this a successful project. So I am looking forward to seeing you succeed. I think you are going to be very successful in this endeavor.
It's going to be a struggle. We need to get this is the headquarters here. But we need to train some young people. So, but our end game here, what do we want to do? We want to continue to the next house. We would want to restore it, 75, sell it. We don't use the word flip. We want to sell a restored house to a single family that's not going to subdivide it. They're going to sign this. They plan to live on it for 10 years. We sell that, we try to buy 2 or 3 more that are in danger. So right now we're starting to set up to do a survey of endangered houses on Broadway and Market Street, which is paramount.
Right. Now, you had also mentioned Habitat for Humanity and kind of compared this to a Habitat-esque kind of project. But Habitat is a national organization. You're local. Do you think that that's going to be even more of a challenge on a local level without having a national organization behind you to support you?
Oh yeah, this is all grassroots, and this has to be done on a local basis. I mentioned Habitat. Habitat's been a great organization.
Right.
When Carter started that, my God, it's about 30 some years ago. But and I've always had the complaint that if we can build houses for people that want to work, some of those houses are for people that don't work.
Right.
Then why can't we save our history? So there's something desperately wrong here with this picture, and I'm not sure why anyone else has not tackled this type of situation to go and save historic architecture around the country, around some of these northeastern cities. It's I mean, we have people that are involved in historic preservation that own other houses that are slum houses.
Mm-hmm.
So how can these people be fostering what they do? This is their livelihood,
Right.
but yet they're slumlords themselves in this city and other cities. So we have to stand back and take a hard look of who these people are and what they're doing to all of us. And it's not just us today, it's for our children, our grandchildren. They'll have nothing left of original fabric.
Now, will there be any kind of an opportunity for an investor in the future? Are there any kind of programs that you'll be able to roll out to an investor for them to be a part of this and still have an investment opportunity?
The investors we want are the homeowners themselves, so we don't want anybody, being a second-rate purchaser of these. So we want to go directly to the homeowners, and that's the problem we're having right now. But the end game with this also is that we're going to create a community center in the city. So where we have a couple locations. I'm coming down from Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
I've been an architectural mill workshop, a furniture shop for the last 40 years. And I'm closing that down. I just do furniture restoration, clock and watch conservation restoration now. But I have 40 machines, and these are huge industrial machines. So what we want to do is create get a relatively small building, 40 by 40. I'm going to donate my machines to the cause, and this is where we're going to have a community center that's going to recreate millwork, whether it be doors, windows.
Okay.
And this could be countywide or the tri-county area, so people could come here. What we want to do is train young people.
Right.
So particularly young people that fall through the cracks and try to instill community pride in them to stay here. So training how to do the millwork process, doors, windows, plastering, and you'll come and say, I have this house in Woodstown, a house in Pedricktown, can you help us out? Absolutely. So we're going to have senior citizens and younger people to help us put this forth. So I think probably within a year of getting our project house here off the ground, we will get our center set up. There has been some talk of putting this community historical type center in the Penny's building, but I think that's more geared toward artists. And I think the problem there is going to be the grants are going to put that way out far too long. And we need to get something now within the next 6 months to get our community center up and running.
I think it's very interesting that your background and your primary interest is the historical preservation, but you're willing to put so much more into the entire community.
Yes, and as we mentioned earlier, particularly the African American community, this was a huge underground railroad town, back in the early 18th century, and we want to highlight that. We want to, we have a large African American community here. We want them to stay here, and we want to glorify them and their past. So either we can create a small museum, part of this dwelling into a museum, or we'll take a separate dwelling and make it into their museum. So we're working with some local leaders right now, talking this out. So
that's wonderful.
It's coming together.
Yeah. So we've talked about the city of Salem and its conditions today, and how it started, and how it became the historical city that it is today. Is there anything that you'd like the viewers to know?
We're in dire straits right now, and we're catching this right at the end. And we need to save as much fabric. We need a real call to action here. We've had a lot of people, I feel, have become quite complacent here in Salem City. And this is just not a Salem City issue. This is a Salem County issue. anyone who cares about their county would care about Salem City, because if we had Salem City back in the economic engine driving again, it affects the whole county. And a lot of times what I'm seeing, and I'm not speaking for the past, I'm speaking for the last couple of years, I don't see our local politicians, I'm not saying our Salem City politicians, but I'm saying our county politicians have not been coming forth pushing the venue of history. If they knew anything about economic development and regeneration, you play off your strengths. And none of them have approached any of us in the last year and a half, and I'm quite surprised.
What do you think the greatest strength is in Salem City?
Well, it's its raw history, and it should be preserved. And if nothing occurs in the next couple of years, we're going to lose probably another 20 to 30% of the houses. Will be too far gone. But we need this call to action. We need help. We need volunteers. Not just volunteers to do manual labor. We need volunteers who want to learn. You want to learn how to do brick repouring and how to work on floors and refinishing and replastering walls and things like this. How to paint, absolutely. So Salem City is in dire straits right now, and we need a real call to action. And many of the individuals that actually live here have become very complacent over the years. And I've heard this from many people, words in their own mouth, it's just too late, it's over. And Salem City has a bad rap anywhere. I mean, some, up as far as the Cherry Hill area, Philadelphia, Wilmington, they liken it to Camden, and that's very sad. Unfortunately, Camden didn't have the history we have here, but we still have threads that we can attach to, and we have some passionate people in our group, and there are some passionate people here in the city. And we just have to show them that we mean business, and this historic preservation is very serious right now. So we need a call to action. We need volunteers. We need younger people in the school. We need younger people county-wide. We could use scouting groups and things like that. They want to learn. They want to learn the historic colonial trades, the plastering, the woodwork, how to lay a brick walkway, things of that nature.
So you'll have demonstrations on how to do these things, or people will participate and help you perform these construction
Yeah, I think
projects?
we make very small classes, get maybe 10 individuals out and do demonstrations and get them started, and have teachers from the actual VOTEC coming out and overseeing, make sure everyone's safe, or everything, safety here is paramount, whatever we're doing. And get the kids involved, and then when we get our center of history open, that they can come and maybe they will be employed there. Could be a summer employment, after school employment, who knows? Maybe full-time when it's over. And so we would create community preservationists that want to stay here and branch out county-wide or through Cumberland County also. So anyone with donations, wants to donate time, wants to donate ideas, wants to be a genealogist for every other house we look up. So we need everyone to get on board here, and our meetings will be posted soon. Please come to our meetings, and let's get started. Let's form this partnership. We have a wonderful partnership with the Honorable Mayor Charles Washington and our group, and it's moving forward very nicely. Life after television, I mean, John is still working on. We're working together on the clock in the First Baptist Church, which is the Salem City clock, the oldest town clock in America. A little bit slower than we thought. There's been a couple changes of hands of pastors in the First Baptist Church, so we're on a little reprisal, a little step back. But the project here is taking.
The show must go on.
Yeah, the show must go on. But the clock mechanism up in that tower is safe. It's sitting there. It's going nowhere. But this house has issues with the roof, as the other house, so it needs our immediate attention.
Time is of the essence.
Of the essence, and we're moving on it.
So as someone who has a historic property myself, what kind of projects would I be able to participate and learn that I could benefit? Because let's be honest, I would love to come out and learn how I can better take care of my home. So there's also a benefit for me to volunteer with you.
Absolutely. Again, we keep going over this. Anywhere from painting, how to remove paint you don't want, wallpaper, how to re-wallpaper, pointing, just information about windows and doors, how things were made, why they were made, and things of this nature. I think it would spawn a plethora of other questions that would and the word of mouth is going to be our best promoter here. There's no doubt about it. But
So we
there's,
need you to tell everyone you know.
and we need to tap into all the historical societies, and this is serious stuff. I mean, this is one of the most important small cities or towns, whatever you want to call it, to ever exist in America, and we need your help. History needs your help here. So don't forget us. Please come out and see us in Salem City.